Hello there, welcome to the very first video, real style video, We Talk Games. I am WTGBoab. You'll be able to contact me at WTGBoab on Twitter, but tonight I thought would be something a bit different. I know I've updated recently about my trip to Japan, so I thought I might as well go ahead and show you some of my Sega collection. I don't have the rarest Sega collection on the planet, but I do have some interesting consoles, and I just thought I'd like to show them off. I'll go through, start in date order, not date order that I got the consoles, but date order of generation. So we'll kick off with, on my lap I have the Sega Master System, Model 1, as you can see, Mark 1. This is actually the latest console I have for Sega. I never had one growing up. I started my collection years ago as a child. I got a NES and then onto the Mega Drive, etc. But this is one console I never had as a kid. A few of my friends had one, but it's not something I've actually had. The Mark II. But this is the Model 1. This has the actual snail game built into it. I don't have many games for it yet because as soon as I got it, I more or less went on holiday, so I've not bought many games for it yet. But I will be planning to get, well actually I'm going to plan to get an Everdrive for it. So I don't need to get too many games, but I'll get a couple of the classics on it. But one thing I do like about this console is the actual controller itself. As you can see, you all notice all my controllers are tied with rubber bands. Some people don't like that, but I do, it keeps them tidier. I actually really like the D-pad on this. Your thumb sits so nicely in it. It's in a cradle almost. It feels much nicer than the original NES pad, and it is the same like rectangle shape as it. I'm enjoying this. Played a few games on it, but as I said, I will end up getting an Everdrive and other Sonic or Alex the Kid games to play on this console. So I don't know a lot about the Master System as of yet. I can't tell you the best games for it because I haven't actually played them. There's no point going on the internet and looking at it saying, oh, these are the best games or definitive games for the system, as I don't know. So we'll leave it at that one and we'll move on to the next one. And as you can see in front of me, we have the very, very large, I might even cut my face actually, but we have the very large Sega Mega Drive with the Sega CD, Sega 32, as you can see I actually have an Everdrive plugged in. This is an Everdrive I have. Simple, you'll see a lot of my consoles actually have Everdrives for them, so I don't have to own every single game, but I have some of the classics from my childhood. Now this is what got me into basically computer games as a child. I did have other consoles growing up, but this is my very first one that I remember playing non-stop was the actual Mega Drive. This is my original one. It's now 20 odd years old. I loved it. It's still mine. I even remember writing my postcode on it somewhere, so in case somebody stole it, and I'd be able to go back to the police and say, that's my console, it's got my postcode on it. Yeah, so I've had this since a kid. I don't have any of the original pads for it. I have a big style pad, but this is for a Mega Drive 2, as you can tell with the red start button there. But again, I also have, this is from my childhood actually, this is one of the original pads I have. I remember, I don't know how, but I used to always fray the top of the Mega Drive pads, and I got this one Christmas. I never had Street Fighter for it. I did have Eternal Champions. It was a terrible fighting game, as I remember, but it did have these three buttons that you could also use to jump in Sonic, which was basically Sonic 1, 2 was the most that I played in these games, and Ultimate Soccer, you could play indoors in that game. I remember playing that for years. Anyway, that was the pads. I prefer this pad as it's smaller, feels more comfortable, and it's kind of more like the Saturn pad was going to look like. But yeah, excellent pads. So then I recently, within the last few years, I picked up the Mega CD. I remember being a child, actually I was talking this today to one of my friends, going into Woolworths, God rest his soul, now no longer with us, and just staring at the box for Sonic CD. I wanted that game so badly. I ended up getting it when I got this, more or less, playing it, and I wouldn't say I was disappointed with it, but I don't think the hype of the game lived up to it, as I'd been wanting the game for years upon years, probably about 15 years, and I always remember that I didn't want to play it in an emulator because I wanted to play it on official hardware. I always knew one day I would end up getting a Mega CD to play it on. On the top we have the Sega 32X, which is one of the craziest accessories I guess people always remember about this era of Sega, and maybe one of the reasons why Sega went bankrupt. There are so many different peripherals out for the dying console itself. People say it kind of looks like it's on a life support machine, considering it has the Mega CD and the 32X plugged in top. Again, I use my Everdrive to play 32X games. I have got a couple of 32X games, but they're quite expensive. From the better games are more expensive, so I use my EverDrive to emulate. It's not really emulate. It is emulating sort of, but you feel like you're playing the new hardware. It's not emulating the current PC. But anyway, yeah. So I have 32X, which I got. I might as well tell you the prices I paid for this. Actually, I paid, what was that, about £30 I paid for in Glasgow, and exactly the same for this. I maybe paid a little bit more for this. This might have been 35. Again, what reasonably, actually really cheap for what I paid for it in a shop in Glasgow, which is no longer with us. I'd only found out about it, and then it basically went bust the next few weeks later. Was whenever it went bust, I think they closed down to then move on to eBay selling only. It was called Game Links in Shawlands. It's about 20 miles away from me, so I went through and looked at it, and basically as soon as I went in and seen they had the Mega CD and 32X, I went, I have to have them. So I bought them there and then, and that is for this generation of Sega. And there's no point giving game ratings because everyone knows the best games for it. There's no point me sitting saying, no, this game's 10 out of 10. I don't really like doing that. If you enjoy a game, you enjoy a game. So I decided this will be my review for this one. Just give me a little look at it. Great console. I would recommend anyone who hasn't got one is to get a Mega Drive first, and I prefer the Model 1. I think it looks better. I think the Sega CD looks 100 times better on Model 1 rather than the side-by-side Mega Drive 1 and 2. Sorry, Mega Drive 2 with the add-on clips into the side of. I actually have got the original metal plates for it. I did get them. It came with the system with it, so you can lock it into place better, and also the metal clips underneath here for the 32X. So I was quite lucky managing to pick up all the little bits with it. So it fits into the slot card. But I was really happy with that, and again, EverDrive. I love my EverDrives. They're a little bit expensive layout at first, but let's be honest, if you're paying that amount of money for consoles and games, you might as well just, if you don't want to get if you don't have a vast amount of games, you might as well just get an EverDrive. You can always play every single game, test them out before you actually want to buy them in the first place. So that's that for just now, and I'll move on to the next generation of Sega. Now we have the Sega Saturn. This is the Model 2 version. You can tell by the buttons are different. Model 1 has kind of oval shaped buttons, these are circular. Is that the right word I'm using? I can't remember if that's the right word. If it is, I'll probably change it pre-edit, so you might see a word under these saying what the buttons are actually shaped like. They're kind of shaped like eyes. So, and they're a different colour. So this is the Model 2 version of Sega Saturn I have, and I also have the memory card for it. I don't have anything, any out plugs. I don't have the RAM expansion for it, but I do have the memory card, so you can save onto it. Saying that, I do have the Model 2 down here. I have got the Model 2 control pad, as I said earlier on. It kind of looks like the 6-button Sega Mega Drive pad. It's a really great pad, this one. I remember actually getting a pad very similar to this for the PlayStation to play Street Fighting games on it, which was excellent at the time. Thinking, oh wow, the Sega Saturn. I think actually there might be ones out for the 360 as well, which are very similar to this, using the same basic design. But I do also have here the Model 1 Sega Saturn controller, which is terrible. Well, it's not terrible, it's just a really odd shape with a strange D-pad which has little concaves in it in the D direction. It's really strange feeling. The buttons are good, the buttons feel nice. Shoulder buttons again are iffy. Not the best looking pad, but it done a job I guess, but I can see why they redesigned it and brought out the Model 2 with the Model 2 console. A great console. I always remember it coming out, but I always had a PlayStation before I had the Sega Saturn. But when I got into game collecting years ago, I decided it was going to be one of the very first consoles I actually bought was the Sega Saturn, so I always wanted to have one. And I did. I've got a load of Sega Saturn games, but the boxes are in terrible condition. Most of them came in terrible condition, but I used to get them from Game Station. They were selling in Glasgow, the little retro corner, and you could pick them up there relatively cheap. So that's what I did. That's what I got most of my collection from. A lot of classic games for this console. You all know them. A lot of good RPGs in this console. Very underrated console at the time, but I guess if you had a PlayStation at the time, you would prefer a PlayStation than a Sega Saturn. It was very expensive, as I remember, but great console. I'm so happy that I got it, and as I said, it was one of the very first retro consoles that I bought. Yeah, so I love my Sega Saturn. There's so many games on it, so many great games that not a lot of people play, but I do enjoy my Sega Saturn. Here we have basically my favourite, apart from the Mega Drive Sega console, it's the Sega Dreamcast. Sega's swan song, Sega's best basic arcade emulator, was amazing. A great console. Parliament people actually had got one at launch. I remember going up to his as a kid, God, years ago now, about 2099 he got it, and just playing it non-stop, being so jealous. I was waiting for the PlayStation 2 and my brothers wanted the PlayStation 2, so I couldn't bug my mum and say I really want this console, but I did after playing it at Mark's. Great games on it, everyone knows. You've got Shenmue, one of my personal favourite games. Played it non-stop, completed it so many times. Fantastic console. Other games, who could forget Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur. Great arcade ports straight onto the Dreamcast, which from AM2, which were amazing. Such a great console, and it's tiny. It really is small compared to all the other consoles you've seen so far. This is a tiny, small, compact unit. It's quite heavy and it is noisy. I'll give it its due. The laser is noisy in these. This is the first model, model 1, which has the strange being able to play fake games without any backups, which I did as a child. I keep saying a child, I wasn't a child. As a teenager I did do that and I was naughty, but now all my games are legit for this console. So great console, and here we have the Dreamcast controller. It's a very strange controller. I remember at the time being really freaked by saying, wow, it looks so cool. And you meant to put the cord up the back, and you meant to have it hanging down. It was just so good. And probably everyone knows this one, but it's the first non-Nintendo pad to have an actual cross for the D-pad, because Nintendo copyrighted that. So no one else. Look back in any other controls, you can see they're all circled, but this is an actual cross there like that. Maybe one of the downfalls is it's actually quite sore on your thumb after a while, but they managed to get it by making them not all the exact same size. They're all raised up slightly so they're not on the same level by Nintendo's patent with that. Great console. Sorry, great. Maybe I think quite a few people actually complain about some dead spots on the analog stick, but I never really had too much problem with it. MSR, I found it perfect to drive around the MSR with that. I don't know if I was speaking about the VMU. Great little thing. I remember looking at it playing like NBA Jam, games like that, and it did come up with a lot of things when you scored a basket and it used to say, and it wasn't NBA Jam, so online, it was 2K Sports, had their own basketball games which are amazing actually. How would I forget that? So yeah, 2K Sports had it, and when you scored the basket it would say swoosh, etc., and I thought that was really good. And also Code Veronica, when you looked at it, it would tell you your health bar. So it would say fine, etc., danger, caution. So you wouldn't have to go into the menu to check your actual health bar, and that would tell you that, which I thought was really good at the time. Great little idea. It was something Sega pushed forward, interactive pad, and you could actually do a lot of things with it. So great little thing. And the console itself, again, I don't need to harp on about how much I love the console. So I would say I'm a bit of a Sega fanboy. Growing up, that was my console. Mark was Nintendo, and then he moved on to Sega. But best console of the lot, I'd say by far, heart of hearts, I'd have to say, is the Sega Mega Drive. Just so many memories as a child playing it. Great console. Second would be Dreamcast, for the exact same reason. So many good. Remember, the 4 control ports were awesome. We used to bring pads up to Mark's and people would play them on it. And Royal Rumble, just such an underrated console at the time. Was gone too early, but now I think anyone who's played retro games do agree that Dreamcast was an excellent console, and probably I'd maybe rate that as the last retro console at the moment in time. I know you can say GameCube or PlayStation 2, etc., but I'd say Dreamcast probably the last console I would class as retro. Other ones are still quite recent, but I'd say Dreamcast is a great retro console. Others I wouldn't say retro as of yet. So Dreamcast, great console. Then Sega Saturn has to be there after that. 32X and the Mega CD would be bundled together, put them together and say those two would be round about there. And then, because I haven't actually played it so much, I would say the Master System comes after that. But do yourself a favour, check out some of the great titles on all of the consoles. and let me know what you think about this video. If you want to see more, or you think, oh, I don't actually want to see any more of that guy's face and his ridiculous beard, let me know in the comments below. You can give something a little click around about here, or maybe Mark put it there, to go to iTunes and select our podcast, have a listen to it audibly, or as we do have a video podcast, you can check it on the channel, the same channel as you'll be watching this video on. So if you can, give it a little like if you like. Anything else, leave a little comment below saying you thought it was shit, my collection's shit, Everdrives are rubbish. Anyway, let me know what you think about the video. Until next time, it's WTGBoab here, signing out. Catch you later on.